Hello and welcome to a new YouTube tutorial by Peakboard. In our video today, we want to show you a few different ways to draw attention to important information or events in your visualization. For this, we will introduce you to three options: changing fonts in your text boxes, animating controls, and coloring controls. As you can see, I'm using one of our templates showing a number of important values of a server. This is ideal for this tutorial since the values are changing constantly and because we need to avoid reaching certain threshold values. Let's start with coloring the text box. For this, we're first going to create the new font that we want to use for our respective text box. To do that, we go to Fonts under Format and duplicate the current font Header 1. I'm going to name the new version Header 1 Red, and then select red as the color for it. It's important to be able to remember the name of the font, since we will need to use it again later. Next, I'm going to select the text box for which I want to change the font. If it doesn't have a name yet, you're going to need to name it here. Besides this, you'll need to remember the name, since it'll be used to address that particular text box later during the scripting process. With that, I can go ahead and get into my script, from which we want to provide the new font to the text box later on. Here, I'll first determine the conditions that have to be met before the font of the text box is modified. I'm going to select the CPU here and determine that the font should be changed if the CPU is above 1300. To do this, I'm going to select the relevant text box on my screen 1 and select the setting that I want to change, which is Font. I then make this equal to the font Header 1 Red that I made earlier to specify that when the condition is met, this corresponding font should be used for the text box. To make sure that the font returns to normal when the condition is no longer met, I'll set up an else condition, where I will once again set Header 1 as the font. In the preview, we can see that the font of the text box changes every time that the CPU value goes over 1300, and that it returns to normal when the value drops back down under 1300. Next, we want to create an animation for a control that will be executed every time that a particular event occurs. For this, we're first going to select the control and then select Custom from the drop-down next to Animation. By clicking on the three dots next to the animation property, we can create our animation. Here, a few templates are already available, which can be used just as they are. If, however, you want to create a custom animation, there are a variety of steps you can use to do so. Under Add Offset, you can cause movement of the control element along the X and the Y axes. Using Opacity, you can change the opacity of a given control. With Fade In and Fade Out, you can make the control appear or disappear. Using Scale, you can change the size of any control. And lastly, Rotate allows you to turn the control as desired. When adding these, it's important to remember to include a step to reverse the change again, since the animation won't otherwise be complete. Besides this, a wait needs to be inserted between each step. Now, we're going to create our own custom animation. We'll use an offset on the y-axis for this, leaving the delay at 0 and setting a duration of 500 milliseconds. For the y offset, we'll now enter -20. Next, we put in a wait step and then another offset, where all the values are set to 0. Besides that, I'll set the easing type to elastic in order to allow the control to snap back into position. Here, we once again have a wide variety of options that each produce a different animation. Over preview, I can look at these animations and, if I'm satisfied, I can confirm it using OK. Also, if I want to use the animation for multiple controls, I can copy it and later paste it into another control. In order to trigger the animation, I take note of the name of the control and then go into the script that I want to use for this purpose. In this case, that is the load on the HDD's capacity being over 55%. Through the name of the control and animate, I can cause the animation to be executed. In the preview, we can see that the animation is executed every time that the corresponding condition is met. Lastly, we want to take a look at how to change the color of a control. To do this, we are going to select another control, in this case a pie chart, and take note of its name for later. In the script that we'll use to change the color of the control, I'm now going to enter the condition on which the color should be changed. If the load on the network approaches capacity, going above 50 megabits, the color of the pie chart should change to red. To do that, I'm going to enter the name of the control. Then, I'll see a selection of the control's properties, which can be modified. These are different for each type of control. For example, we can change the colors of every element of our pie chart to generate a variety of different visual effects. In order to change the color of the bar, I'm going to select the property Tail Brush and set its color equal to the one that I want to give the control. For this, I'm going to enter Brushes, and then select the corresponding color from the list of available colors. Besides this, I'm going to need to determine what should happen when the value is under 50 using else. In this case, the color should be set back to khaki. In the preview, we can see that the color of the pie chart turns to red when the condition is met, and that it turns back to khaki when it drops under 50. That's it for my tutorial today. If you liked the video, we would love it if you would give us a thumbs up. Also, we want to invite you to follow our channel so you can see new videos regarding the creation of dashboards with Peakboard as they come out.